Hi, and welcome to Good Deeds, Real Estate with a Mission. I'm Diane Davidson. This is Bill Weidecker, my partner. I think everyone knows by now, right? Okay.
I think that's a fair
All
assumption.
right. So today we're going to have a little story. Once upon a butt dial. I want you to take it away and tell us what happened the other day.
Well, so it's interesting because this is a discussion that every morning our company fields a group discussion amongst as many realtors that in our company that want to take place. And we heard a funny little story today about an agent who butt dialed one of her clients by mistake, a past client. And she said, "Oh my goodness, it's a mistake. I just butt dialed you." And she said to the client, "You know what? By the way, you should sell your house." And the past client laughed a little bit about it and said, "At some point in the future, I'm going to." And they engaged in this discussion about what they might like in the future. And all of a sudden, it's this rabbit trail that the client is going down, looking at properties all of a sudden online, paying a little bit more attention, starting to communicate. Doesn't mean that he or she is going to move rapidly, but they're doing the right thing, and they're engaged in this discussion. One of the things we do here at Fine Homes Group is we send out a weekly call to action for all the things we're looking for our buyer clients.
Right, yeah.
And it occurred to us that, we have future seller clients that may not know they're future seller clients just yet, but they're going to be in a year or two or three. And it begs the question, is it worth having these discussions with us now? And, I think that it is. And partly because there's 460 agents here in this market center of ours. And most people aren't aware that the National Association of Realtors has a newish policy that says you're prohibited from discussing your listings that are quote unquote coming soon with competing brokers until you're within one business day of going live
In MLS.
in MLS.
Yeah.
Which really prohibits this discussion of, hey, I'm about to put this property on the market this weekend, amongst other companies, but does not prohibit it within the company.
Right.
Ergo, I guess what this means to future sellers and current buyers or future buyers is our company, because of its size, we have the greater potential for a lot more listings. And a lot more listings means a lot more opportunities for our clients to hear about them well in advance of the competition's clients. We just can't do it anymore because of the National Association of Realtors not guidelines, regulation.
Right, yep.
So if you're thinking of moving, I think it's, even if it's way off in the future for you, get engaged with us in these discussions. And oftentimes you may look in the future that you know what you're going to look for 3 years from now. And it might be one of those needles in the haystack that if you knew about it coming on the market a year from now or 2 years from now, you would buy it.
Right. So for buyers, there's a pool of properties that are available that they can learn about if they're working with an agent here.
Mm-hmm.
In advance, sometimes far in advance of when they need to buy, right?
So true.
And for sellers, there is that pool of buyers who chooses to work with one of our agents who is available to them. We have somebody actually, interestingly enough, who contacted me after one of our buyer wish list and search of weekly things and said, you talked about somebody who would wants to buy, but they'll close and let the owner stay for a while. And I started thinking, maybe we'd like to move. Maybe we'd like to do that. We want one more summer with our pool, but that's probably about it. And lo and behold, they have signed a listing. And it's going to be one of those sort of quiet within the company listings for now because that's all we can do, right?
Sure.
So the buyers working with agents here are privy to those kind of opportunities, if you will. So you're right. It's never too early to have the discussion because people's timelines sometimes work out and not everybody has to do something immediately. And we are, again, the matchmakers when two people's timelines align, when they dovetail, right?
Yeah, you're looking to connect this dot with this dot.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way you can connect one dot with another dot is you have to know.
You know they exist.
Yeah, you really do. And so we can't operate with premonition in our, we've got to have these discussions. So I think it makes a lot of sense, even though it might sound a little crazy where you go, we're really not ready for until, the kids get out of high school in 3 years. It's worth having the discussion.
Right.
It really is.
Right. We've also had, with the not ready for 3 years kind of thing, we also help people be prepared, right? So they'll be
Right.
ready but not prepared. So
One of our attorney for the firm had somebody contact me years ago about they were going to move in a few years, but they wanted to put some hardwood floors in the house and wondered whether or not the investment in the floors was going to pay off. And we talked that through, and having those discussions way in advance, that was an easy one. But there are some complicated ones about do we spend money, and depending on when you're thinking of moving, well, there you go. Isn't that what? It's almost like you got a prop.
almost like it. This is a future podcast, but really unpacking the whole property preparation question.
Yeah, and what about putting money into the house on certain things that you're going to use? Like, for instance, you mentioned the pool. What's the window of time before you say we're going to move in a few years? Do we put a pool in? Do we not put a pool in? That kind of thing.
Right.
For another day.
Coming attractions. I'm hearing coming attractions.
Coming soon to a podcast near you.
And is that the end of the butt dial story? When's the butt dial?
That really is the end of it, but it's funny because I wonder if that butt dial didn't happen and that discussion didn't happen, would that potential seller client of the future be thinking,
Right.
I've mentioned that story where I got a text from a friend of mine who's also helped me buy a car years ago, and he texted me saying, how's the new car, it was at that point 3 years, treating you? And within a month, I bought another car from him.
I've told him not to contact you again.
Yeah, he's on the do not call.
Do not
I'm
call.
on the do not call list. So yeah, you don't know what the discussions will lead to, and it's worth having. We're planning on being in the business in several years. So having the discussion about moving in several years, we're game if you're game.
Yep, I'm always 5 years away from retirement.
keep
Starting
moving.
20 years ago.
Don't change the goal,
No,
honey.
no,
Just move the
The
deadline.
post, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well, anyway, that's it. Thanks for sharing the story, and I hope people will reach out to us, whether they're thinking of buying, thinking of selling, and no matter when, as
Wonderful.
long as it's within 5 years.
Keep the phone out of your back pocket.
No, don't. Put it right in. Anyway, that's it for today. So be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on your favorite podcast platform.